I don't want you to choke on the tape.
All right, it's all you, babe.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your willingness to participate in this panel discussion for the Kevin Starn Show. This is not intended to be a debate in any way, simply a presentation for various viewpoints on animal rights and or animal welfare in today's society. Please be brief. From my right, please start by stating your name, the reason why you're at the conference, and what you feel is the single most important action humans can take toward helping non-humans.
Hello, my name is Erin Pilkington. I'm here with an organization called Shark Angels. I'm actually the New Jersey coordinator for Fin Free. I think the most important thing that we need to do is the fact that instead of just dealing with society and the regular everyday thing, is to ask questions. Why do we do this? Why do we do that? And unless people start thinking for themselves, they're not going to change anything in the world. And that's not just for the animal rights, that's for anything in general.
I'm Nicole Sheen. I'm a press officer with the North American Animal Liberation Press Office, and I'm here to promote the message of liberation for animals. And the most important action that any individual can take for the animals is direct action, so liberating them from the confines of oppression or liberating them from the place in which they're being killed, exploited, or murdered for food, clothing, or in the name of fraudulent science.
And I'm Will Tuttle. I'm here to speak, promoting compassion for animals, basically through vegan education. I'm the author of The World Peace Diet, which is a book that focuses on helping people to question the official stories of our society, which basically, from my point of view, comes essentially, is organized around dominating animals for food primarily, and then from that we get everything else. So just to go to the root of the problem, which is exploitation of the animals.
Okay, what types of projects are you actively working on or supporting that address the role of young people?
So Shark Angels actually has our own children's program, and we go all around the world and educate children about sharks, about what they do for our society and the environment, and get them active in it. And by educating the earlier generations, we're going to change the future.
The press office currently doesn't have anything in specific, but we do have lots of people that come by our tables when we're tabling events, and they do ask us questions about what is the Animal Liberation Front, what are these underground groups, how can they get involved in helping animals. And our primary goal is not only to educate about the message of animal liberation, but also to reach out to other communities who aren't necessarily exposed to this message of, thinking that animal rights is only constricted to one particular view, and we bring another position of animal liberation about people taking illegal direct action or breaking the law to help animals.
Actually, I work primarily with older people. The idea is, from my point of view anyways, that children are so children are forced to participate in these mealtime rituals where we eat the flesh and secretions of tortured animals, and that's being done, basically forced on them by their parents and by the adults in their society. So in many ways, I want to obviously help kids, but I think to help kids, we have to get the adults to stop doing that, stop inflicting that on the kids. I found if I try to deal with the kids directly, I come up right against their parents that are like, no. So I'm focusing on trying to get the parents and teachers and policy, not so much policymakers, but mainly the people who are the general public, to move toward a vegan diet, which will be ultimately help the kids to move toward a vegan diet.
Okay. How do you deal with criticism of your stance on animal rights or animal welfare?
Well, I'll just give you kind of a brief overview of the criticisms that we get at the press office, which is that we're too radical, and the way that I approach that is that everyone has an extreme position. Everyone feels very strongly about one thing or another. So many times will come down to the fact that like how most people feel about a particular issue. They usually aren't very neutral on that position. Sometimes there's gray areas, but for the most part, they are usually strongly opinionated about that. So I would say that to be too radical is a good thing. That people to have a position on one way or another is very healthy, because most people feel that way about most general issues. Another one is that we're promoting terrorism, or that we're promoting violence, and sometimes force is justified. If somebody was herding a dog down the street from you, and anybody would jump in the middle and stop that. So this is just an extension of people stopping the mass brutality, or the millions to billions of animals, by either directly liberating these animals from the places where they're being killed, or causing economic sabotage, which is the destruction of the property in which participates in killing animals. So whether it be the machinery itself, or the trucks and machinery that transports animals.
Such as like test labs and places?
In laboratories, factory farms, wherever it may be, wherever the action is taking place. Anonymous individuals have gone in and destroyed that property, or research even. Many times there'll be decades of research that fur farmers have collaborated over time, and they'll destroy that so that they inhibit the industry from continuing to profit off animal exploitation. So those are some of the ways that we, shed light on what is going on, because the real violence is happening to the animals inside those, factory farms and to the labs. Object does not feel but a subject like an animal does, and that's what our, approach to that is saying that this is not violence. What is violence is the animals being killed for food, or for clothing, or for science.
You can repeat the question for Aaron if you want.
Yeah. The question was, how do you deal with criticism of your stance on animal rights or animal welfare?
In all honesty, you can ask 20 different people the same question and they'll respond the same way. We educate people and we tell them about what's going on. We tell them about the facts, and you do get those people that will fight you. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who just won't change. And unfortunately, you educate them and you show them actual facts, you show them papers, and if they choose not to change, or if they want to fight you, you say, okay, have a nice day. And there's no reason for you to stoop to their level of evilness and to fight them, because you're not gaining anything, you're wasting your energy. You can spend your time promoting your cause much more than fighting with one person who is too stubborn and naive to try and change the world.
Your question about rights and welfare. I'm basically in the rights camp. I feel that my focus is strictly on educating people to not see animals as beings, as objects to be used at all. So it's just to help them realize at a deeper level that the cultural program has injected into them a way of thinking that is definitely not in the interest of animals or themselves. So, or the culture, or that, if we continue to live the way we're living, seeing beings as mere things to be used, then we will not continue to live as a species. We'll destroy ourselves and the animals and the planet. And that ultimately I don't promote a gradual approach. I promote an immediate, radical approach, in the sense that I don't think that the vegan revolution is going to happen by sort of begging from the power brokers, for crumbs from the table. We have to. That's going nowhere. We have to do a massive grassroots, revolutionary educational campaign to help people, not to judge people, but to help people realize that the only reason they're eating meat and dairy and using animals for products and so forth, but the main thing is obviously is the food, is because they've been forced into it from the time they're little kids, from the time they're little infants. They're given cow's milk and bacon and all this stuff. And so they've internalized a program that's devastating. on every level, to them, to the culture, to the planet. And when they see that actually, they're just acting like robots, just doing things without thinking. They're not actually evil. They're just doing what they've been told. They're just following orders from their mother, basically, at a very deep level. And then I found that works really well. People start going, I don't want to just be a mindless program, and they start questioning, and I get a lot of people go vegan. Just understanding it that way.
Yeah, back to your question, I just wanted to say something in addition to what the press office would, helping younger generations, in addition to the education factor, but like many times we will have information on ways that younger generations can get involved on a grassroots level in their local communities. So, for example, today at the press office table, we have some flyers about some general protests that will be happening, along the weekend for the conference concerning issues of, animal liberation. So, whether it's vivisection or, animals used in science, or they're doing some protests to help the seals in Africa that are being killed. So many times we'll have general information if we're tabling at like a punk show or tabling at a conference. We have an area that's open where if people want to come and actually participate on the streets and get out there to message their concerns to the public about how animals are being treated, we'll also have that information. So in addition to the general work that the press office does, we also sometimes have leaflets that they can take of how they can get involved on the streets in their local communities. But the primary work that we do is talking to the media. So many times, kids may see us on the news as well about animal liberation activities.
What are your thoughts on mock meats or lab-grown meats that don't impact animals?
My problem is that whenever we do any type of genetic engineering in a lab, you're messing with something that you shouldn't be messing with. And in all honesty, we're playing God, and whether or not you have religious ideas, there's a reason why Mother Nature made it and not us. And I feel like a lot more can go wrong if you start messing with science.
Me in particular, as far as addressing mock meats, I'm gluten intolerant, so most of the stuff on the current market I cannot eat. I don't have any problem against people eating a supplement, because honestly, if they want to eat something that similar or resembles chicken, or eating cows or pigs, if they're not participating in the mass slaughter of those animals and they're eating something that's meat-based or soy-based, and they're not harming anybody. So in that particular respect, I'm okay with people eating mock meats. But as far as a lab or genetically modified grown meat, which is actually real flesh that they're getting from DNA or getting from some type of genetics from a real animal, I see the potential for them exploiting animals in some means or manner to gain that, to get that material. And also anything grown in a lab, this just sounds disgusting.
Yeah.
So why can't we just grow our own
Like
vegetables?
petri dish food.
Right, like why can't we just grow our own vegetables in our own backyard? And I promote permaculture, which is us doing it ourselves, growing our own food. That's something that's really important. We need to learn how to sustain ourselves without relying on any type of market. So start growing in your own garden.
Right. Yeah, that's what I would say too. I am not a fan of the lab-grown meat, because it doesn't really change the consciousness. People still want to eat meat, but they say, well, we can't eat meat anymore because of whatever reason. It's not enough land or something, but they still haven't actually seen the animals as beings, so it doesn't change them at a deeper level of respect for all life. And so I think it's, we have such fabulous foods already. We have tempeh and tofu, and we have all these other things, all the vegetables and grains, and plus, I think it's kind of neat that there are these other, like vegan mayonnaise and ice cream and butter and all that stuff to help people make the transition. So I'm in favor of that.
Okay.
Do you have a theory on the individuality of animals and their ability to comprehend their own uniqueness given adequate attention?
Oh, they definitely do. I'm actually a vet tech, and so I can tell you on a daily basis that, and it doesn't matter the species, because I've worked with, reptiles, birds, dogs, all the way up to farm animal, and they all have their individual personality if you let them. And it's just like people, if you nurture them and you encourage them to be who they are, they're going to have their own personalities. If you force them into a specific thing, they're not going to be able to become individuals.
To anybody who's spent any time with any animals, whether they're a dog, cat, turtle, rabbit, chicken, cow, pig, and I've spent time with every single one of those animals listed, regardless of the environment even that they were brought up in. Like, I've done, work at rescues and sanctuaries where animals have seen some of the worst conditions ever known to, humans and non-humans. So, but they're resilient, meaning that they can, adapt to another life after something as horrific as seeing the inside of a factory farm, or being a bait dog in dog fighting. I've done work with pit bulls and other breeds of bulldogs, and they, after being put into situations where they were literally being ripped apart so that the people that were abusing them would make money off of them, all they wanted to do was cuddle and lay in your lap, and they knew they were in an environment where they were safe. So yes, absolutely, these animals have personalities, but not only that, just like we are resilient, just the way that we can adapt and move on after something traumatic, if we're in the right, situation after, if somebody rescues or helps us or liberates us from those types of everyday abuses, we thank them. And animals really are, it's just this ever-giving love. They're very, very grateful and thankful for the people that, are helping them. They know it, they feel it, they have energies, they recognize that these people are not there to harm them.
That's beautiful. I love what you guys are saying. It's great. I would just say, yeah, that's my experience also. That's the whole underlying driving force. I think when someone gets involved with animal liberation, it's because these beings are beings that whose interests are to them as important as my interests are to me, and they have a unique experience and perspective on the world, that they're subjects of their lives. And I don't see how people can shut that down. I think we all know that. No one can argue that really anymore. I think anyone who tries to argue against that is now seen, even among scientific circles, as being pretty absurd. So that's progress that's been made in the last probably couple of decades. And I think also that my ideal anyway is that animals live completely freely. I think that when we have relationships with animals, that they be living freely, that they be wild, so-called wild animals. And I've had a few kind of relationships with wild animals in the sense that they're just like deer and turkeys and other animals that live around where we live now. And you can really feel them celebrating their lives, them having interrelationships with each other, and really living a life that to them is obviously rich. And the thing that they hate the most, the thing that absolutely will drive them into absolute freaking out, would be to try to hold their body, try to confine them. They'll go nuts. You cannot do that. They want to. That's the thing.
They want to be free.
They want to be free. I mean, and you take their body and you try to hold it, try to put it into a cage. We have a deer fence we put in, and so they can't get into our vegetable garden. So the deer never attack our fence. They just leave it. But once the deer got in and couldn't get out, and they just ripped that thing down. They just panicked, totally freaked out. They like, get out of here!
Because they're not used to being tracked.
Complete panic. They're wild animals. They went nuts, And to me, that was like, wow, what we've done to these animals, how we confine their bodies.
Right, and that was just
So
one individual
terrible.
animal trying to get out because he wasn't used to the confinement.
He wasn't used to it. And
Right.
or she just broke down the fence, just destroyed it.
Didn't know what else to do. It was trying.
Right.
Its main
Right.
plan was
That's
get out of
it.
here.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
Okay.
yeah, so I think it's really important for us to understand that.
Thank you again for helping me understand this and for allowing us to take time out of your day for the Kevin Storm Show.
Thank you,
So,
Kevin. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Kevin.
Very cool.
Keep up the great work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.